Well, I have 250 on my watch. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Um, we are going to roll through the topic here. My name is Brian Seidel. I'll give you a quick intro slide. The topic today is the B2B first versus direct-to-consumer first e-commerce landscape. And the big picture purpose of this presentation is to present some differentiation and to basically demonstrate that e-commerce platforms with some stories and some some beef or content behind it on what the difference is between a B2B first and a direct-to-consumer first e-commerce platform. They're both great tools. They're just built for different purposes or different purposes in mind. And it'll help you understand where you fit and what your needs are as you're making your own e-commerce decisions for your company, or if you're a partner for the customers that you're servicing. So jumping in here, we're going to rapid fire through stuff. You're welcome to reach back out to anyone here at CIMcloud if you have questions or want a deep dive on the framework that I'm going to be presenting, which really applies to any e-commerce platform regardless. But I'm Brian Seidel. I'm the co-founder and CEO of CIMcloud. And in the e-commerce community for the past 20-something years, I've played the villain, the hero, and the victim, all three of the triangle of dysfunction. I found myself in all of those. These are some direct quotes that I've heard on phone calls or about me. Fortunately, we have had some successes as we've been through quite a few of them. But for sure, we've learned a lot and probably learned more from the failures or the painful ones, as many of you have as well. So I'm going to tell a couple customer stories. So we've been in the ERP integrated e-commerce space for a long time. We're on the price list on several Sage ERP systems. Some of you may know us from that ecosystem. And in 2023, we decided to move into the Acumatica space. So I asked some customer service people to get me on the phone with people we knew that were leaving us because we didn't have a native integration and we didn't have a way that people could basically integrate with our platform through basically a general purpose API, which we now have. But I asked them to get on the phone with customers who basically were quitting CIMcloud because they were leaving an on-premise ERP to go to Acumatica, and they needed deeply integrated e-commerce. And when I got on the phone with three customers that were in that mode. They were still paying us monthly, so I was trying to figure out what was going on because they told us they were leaving. One of them had implemented Magento, one BigCommerce, and one Shopify, and I was absolutely stunned by what I was hearing. I knew these platforms were all great. They're widely distributed platforms, and I was hearing about one problem after another with customers, and I'm going to break down some of those problems. But things just like getting customer-specific pricing to work or getting basic AR tracking data and pay invoices online. They were struggling with what we consider to be a lot of the basics for manufacturing and distribution companies who are our target customers. And several of them have been into over a year-long projects, 6 figures into the project with digital agency firms that were implementing the platform and trying to get it fully integrated with Acumatica. We ended up winning several of those customers back as we basically built a standard integration into Acumatica. We now have the standard integration and we're rolling out as a level 2 ISV as we speak. But going through these stories, and there's probably longer formats that I could go through the excruciating detail. I spent dozens of hours on phone calls trying to deep dive and understand what was happening, knowing that these platforms that people were working with were tremendous products and great platforms. And the big realization, I kind of already knew it that I had, is that basically e-commerce platforms, I'm going to use a vehicle analogy, they're like vehicles. And you can have many great vehicles that are built for completely different purposes. And what I would advocate here, and what I found out and deeply learned to understand, and so did a lot of our customers, was there is a giant difference between a B2B first e-commerce platform and approach and a direct-to-consumer first e-commerce platform and approach. And I'm going to give you an analogy, and then I'm going to break it down with some meat. So these are some quick indicators that you can look at and understand if you, or if you're a partner, if your customer has B2B first e-commerce needs. basically, if any one of these is true, then they're probably a good candidate for a B2B first platform. If 2 or 3 or 4 or more of these is true, you're going to find that there is a very large lift that's needed to get a direct consumer platform to do it. And I'll basically provide some more meat to that claim as we're going through this. If you just look at big picture, this is part of my investigation. I started looking at things and realizing when you look, CIMcloud is a B2B first e-commerce platform with a native integration, as you've probably already figured out. But the image on the right is directly out of a Shopify commercial. So this is what that entire platform or direct-to-consumer first platforms were built for, is companies that basically were pure play e-commerce. That's how they started. They had a very inexpensive monthly fee, and it was very affordable to get on the platform. They made it all self-service and easy, so you could roll it out and basically set up a store. So when I looked at this, our customers aren't basically running their business on a laptop at a fair out of the back of the truck. They look more like the ones on the left with 40-foot shelving systems, forklifts. They're wearing PPE. Some of them are pouring molten lava in the back of their facilities. And if you look and basically see how B2B is positioned, this is just giving you an idea of where B2B is mentioned and how it looks within the overall scheme of their pricing page. I would advocate that B2B was an add-on afterthought. It, in fact, was not even addressed until they rolled out the Plus platform in this particular case. Same thing with another public company, e-commerce provider, direct-to-consumer first e-commerce provider. So again, great platforms and great vehicles built from the ground up for an entirely different purpose and customer base. So the analogy you heard coming back is what I realized was the customers that I were talking to were going through massive pain, needed a bucket truck. And what was happening was they were talking to a sales rep of the Toyota Camry, a Toyota sales rep or dealer that was selling them the Camry. And the Camry is an awesome vehicle. It's one of the #1 selling vehicles in the world. And if you basically have your significant other, and you're touting a couple kids across country on road trips and back and forth to pick up line or drop off line at school, it's an awesome vehicle for the job. If you are trying to clean trees or clear trees off power lines in ice storms 40 feet in the air, I would advocate that the Toyota Camry was not designed for that use case and is the wrong vehicle for the job. A bucket truck, on the other hand, was designed for that exact use case and is the correct vehicle. So the case that I'm going to make, and I'll provide some more beef, is that if you need a bucket truck, companies like CIMcloud, we make way less bucket trucks than they make Toyota Camrys. But if you need a bucket truck, this is my commercial pitch, we make a damn good bucket truck. And basically what happens in those environments, or what I observed these customers happening, it was very difficult. They knew they needed a vehicle, but in the software world, it was difficult to distinguish between them. So they talked to a sales rep. They got all the sizzle. There was a lot of cool features, the sunroof, leather seats, cool stereo system. And then they would turn them over to a team of mechanics, also called digital agencies, that basically were going to turn this Camry into a bucket truck. And they'd say, no problem. Well, I need to clear power lines or trees off power lines 40 feet in the air. Here's our app store, which is a parts store, essentially. Go buy a bucket. And then they'd weld it on. And then the tires were flat. Well, now what am I going to do? Well, don't worry. We've got 42-inch Michelins you can put on that thing. Well, they don't fit in the wheel well anymore. No problem. We'll just cut it and weld it and bend it back. Well, now my transmission just burn out. My suspension did. No problem. We'll go into the app store. Well, what about my toolbox? That one's not big enough, so it can't fit in the trunk. Well, no problem. We'll just weld it on the right side. Well, now I can't open my doors. So this sounds obnoxious and ridiculous. I realize it. But I was seeing this exact thing over and over again with customers that were attempting to make a direct-to-consumer platform do all the stuff that are the B2B first needs. And I'm going to break down through the lens of what we call the 3PS framework, which is a e-commerce success playbook. that we've put together. This framework will work for any e-commerce platform, whether it's direct to consumer or B2B or any e-commerce initiatives. But it starts with an overarching multi-year program to get world domination and total automation. There's projects that are initial implementation and adding capabilities and adoption, and then platforms, which is, I'm going to go through platforms and solution, the PS part of this framework. There's a whole lot more beef that we don't have time to get into today with that framework, but we're happy to discuss and provide content on that. So I'm going to dig in and I'm going to explain the bucket truck versus Camry in a little bit deeper context and kind of lay out a logical approach to this. So the third P in the S in 3PS, the platform and solutions, basically the platforms are what you need for B2B first e-commerce success. The platforms are in the blue outlined areas here. So you've got your ERP platform, Acumatica, you've got an e-commerce ERP sync, and then you've got your e-commerce platform. All three of those platforms are needed in order to have success or a base foundation. The orange ring is basically customizations. So that's basically any adaptations, customizations, any non-standard functionality or things that you do to the platform. And then the green layer is configurations, data, and content. So it's stuff that the platform or customizations was built to hold and handle, but it's basically a configuration, data, content layer. The green outer ring is the S in 3PS. That's your solution. That's unique to you or your company, and that's what you're using to go get world domination and total automation within the target markets that you go after. So you need the green outer ring that you own, and we take a no apologies approach to e-commerce. It takes work and it takes effort. It takes resources in order to have e-commerce success. And basically, you own the green outer ring, regardless of what the blue platform is. Now, not all platforms are the same, as we've discussed, just like not all vehicles are the same. And there are platforms that are better for different use cases. So what I found was if you look at a direct-to-consumer first platform, the platform is really quite small in its functionality. There's some great ones out there that have really open capabilities and flexibility on what you can do with design and UI. And things like that, but the core functionality is really quite small. So they point you to the parts store, what they call an app store, to basically go search for third-party parts. The underlying secret of that is all of those are customizations. They also have themes that you can go get custom themes, which basically takes the entire front-end UI layer and turns that into a customization if you use a custom theme. So what I observed with these customers when I dug in was a very, very large orange layer within their green solution of customizations and apps, and I observed digital agencies trying to bend them in. The challenge is when you run your entire business off of an ERP system, and that's your back office, it required heavy customizations in the ERP sync. Some of them bought the native sync that Acumatica has, which is a great native sync. But when you get to direct B2B first needs, as you start adding a whole bunch of orange, you can't build a standard product to basically interface with a whole bunch of customizations or unique, because it's a snowflake every time it's out there. So it's simply not there. In one of the cases that I dug into, we started calling these rescue projects, by the way. The customer had a big orange layer trying to do a lot of it. They were still fumbling, just trying to get basic, what I would call the basics or the 101 of B2B, but they actually had a second sync tool. They were running a native sync and then a second sync tool that was doing all of the orange stuff outside of what the standard sync happened. So they had a big layer of customizations in the ERP sync portion as well. If you look at a B2B first platform that was built for those use cases, what you'll find is to achieve the same green outer ring, there is significantly more blue that's available to do that, which means your orange layer is significantly smaller. So in the world of software, customizations aren't bad, but you should have justifications. Anyone that's been around platforms or software for a long time, generally the rule of thumb for experienced people is minimize customizations or eliminate them wherever you can. And if you have customizations, make sure there's a darn good business justification for it, because they add overhead, expense, and complexity, particularly if you lose the people that originally did the customizations, either through contract or employees leaving, and you run into kind of getting into a lot of complexity to manage. So when you look at the side-by-side comparison, the benefit that a B2B first platform brings is the big blue. And by the way, B2B first platforms have native ERP integrations. You almost have to have a native ERP integration because there is so much data that's moving into the platform versus a direct-to-consumer integration. It's like 5 tables versus 50 tables of data that have to sync back and forth. So it would be very difficult to do that in a disconnected fashion, in my strong and extremely biased opinion here. So if you look at this, I had our marketing team do that. That's kind of clever. So looking at this, or kind of coming back to the platform analogy, when you look at it in the purchasing world, if a CFO needed bucket trucks and was clearing power lines, they'd probably get fired if they bought Toyota Camrys to do that. And it's not because the Camry's a bad vehicle, it's just the wrong vehicle for the job. The software world is gigantically more complicated and more obscure, which is why I saw some of these scenarios happen as we were going into rescue projects and win-backs. So going back to the 3PS framework, I'm going to explain those diagrams in the orange ring and what that big chunk of orange does within program, project, platforms, and solution. All of them require resources, which results in money to the organization, either direct payroll costs or through contractors or through software products or whatever. But basically, the direct-to-consumer first platform, if it's getting put, the Camry's getting put into the bucket truck use cases, it adds significant risk and expense to your program. That's your long-term piece. Individual projects, just implementing the platform to start with, or the ongoing projects to add capabilities to the project, and your overall solution, which is the green ring that you're running. That's what your customers are seeing. You're adding significant risk to that. So can it be done? 100%. Are there great digital agencies that can turn Camrys into bucket trucks? Yes, there are, and they do it all the time. The question is, does that make sense for your business to do that if you have other options that have vehicles that were built for the job? And that's one that you can decide and weigh out. So looking at this, I'm going to go into a few minutes out of kind of the bigger picture piece of 3PS and into CIMcloud specifically in our B2B first e-commerce platform. And I'm going to rifle through a bunch of stuff, not basically for awareness purposes as we're going through, so you can be aware of what we have and see if it looks like it's something that makes sense. And if it does, we'd certainly love to have the dialogue. If you're into e-commerce and not looking to switch platforms but want to learn more about the 3PS framework, I'll get to that at the end. We're happy to share all those resources, and I'm sure you would find that some of the experience that I shared up front may be able to help you resolve some pain with you and your team. So rifling through the B2B first e-commerce, we kind of have 4 pillars. We call it open. The platform, we're a SaaS e-commerce platform. It has to be open through no code, low code, yes code. It's got to be fast, particularly if you're doing anything retail. We have a lot of customers that do full direct to consumer retail, or they'll do public catalogs, and all their B2B activity is behind login. But it's got to be fast, and we use PageSpeed Insights as kind of our center or our main tooling system or third-party independent scoring system for that. Native, you've got to have native B2B first capabilities. That's the blue ring that we were talking about. You've got to have a beefy set of B2B capabilities and integrated, the native integration. We also have monitoring, self-healing, and alerting. We have a designated team basically on the integration that's driving it. So if you look at the major components of the platform, you can see in the diagram here, I went back, the platform's in the cloud. With Acumatica use cases, our cloud sync, the sync tools in the cloud, and I'll walk through how we get data in and out of Acumatica here in a second. But your customers are basically accessing the platform to do self-service or everything from product catalog, quotes, ordering, invoice payments, order tracking, shipment tracking, returns, things like that. And then we also have a whole area where workers, that's what we call your employees or contractors or people helping your company, can see everything that's going on. So the concept behind the platform, or our worldview, is we want to be able to cut your employees out of the middle of all the transaction stuff, but keep them in the know so they can be proactive and drive things forward. So Our platform manifests itself in a few ways. One is on customer sites. You're looking at a concept, the B2B portal concept. This is just a default theme or template with a made-up company, a coffee distributor, the grind supply company. But you could see basically this B2B portal is built for B2B customers to log in, find the products, get quotes, place orders, do bulk orders, track their shipments, invoices, make payments, make returns. It's basically designed to get in, do your stuff, and get out quickly. We also have full retail. This is a standard retail theme that's fully customizable and configurable to allow anonymous customers to come in and buy as well. And there's a multi-store concept where you can have different stores, product mixes, prices, brands, URLs, and things like that. The worker portal, this is the worker side of the CIMcloud platform. It's broken down into multiple workspaces. You're seeing a snapshot of the settings and CRM workspace. It's kind of a CRM light tool, but that's where reps can have full visibility of everything that's going on. But this allows everyone in. Now, just going through the open piece, so we talked about open, fast, integrated, and native B2B functionality. The open piece, we have lots of tooling related to no code, low code, and yes code. This is one of the gap areas that we were behind for direct-to-consumer platforms, and we've been aggressively closing the gap in the low-code and yes-code areas with page builders, full code access to override template files, inject codes, and things, as you're seeing on the right-hand side. And we have a whole team that's initiative is further opening up any areas of the platform that currently aren't open. We do have pro services and partners that can access everything, so it is fully customizable if you do need an orange layer that's in there. But again, the whole design was to keep the blue layer big. This is just an example of a standard site, standard theme, fully integrated with ERP and page speed insight scores. This is we have a team that's basically focused on speed and performance and moving the needle. On that, we still have some gaps in areas that we're looking to cover. We like greens. I'd like to see all hundreds. We've got a few in there as we're going through. The integrated component, so we talked about open, fast, or we touched on that. Integrated with Acumatica, we're using their standard integration layer. So we're not making any customizations to Acumatica. You don't need the native e-commerce connectors with Acumatica. We are just going to install a package of generic inquiries in. You're seeing a handful of them here. There's about 40 or 50 of them. We use the OData layer, which is standard with Acumatica, to get data out, and we basically move all the data to our platform. So it's only back end. We keep a low touch approach to the touching of the ERP system. So we're not making real-time calls. A couple of customers I saw like real-time calls to try to get pricing to work. We have a very robust pricing engine that makes all the pricing work, and we just replicate the data and translate it and move it into our ERP agnostic platform. We've integrated our platform with 7 different ERP systems. We also use the API layers to get things like orders, invoice payments, and returns in. So no customizations to Acumatica, just installing a standard package of generic inquiries and getting access to the API layer. So it's pretty clean and simple. Here's just some basic things I'll roll through. Full order, invoice, payment, shipment tracking. These are back orders, all data synced from Acumatica, Acumatica system of record. Our B2B-First platform was built from the ground up to work with ERP systems. So the ERP remains system of record for all this, and we just roll the data out as there's adds or modifications to it. This is an example of customers being able to see statements and pay invoices online. Using vaulted payment, a credit card, bank account. This is an example of customer-specific replicated pricing coming out of Acumatica. Again, we have a very robust pricing engine, so there's no real-time calls on Acumatica to get pricing, including quantity or volume price breaks. All of that's supported out of the box. In fact, you can't buy our platform without all of these pieces. There's some advanced pieces or optional bundles that are coming up here as we go through. This goes through, we support full customer-specific catalogs and data sets. It shows you a customer skin concept where you can skin the platform as customers log in. Full faceted search capabilities included make and model style searches for selectors. You're also seeing here a product configurator that's full bill of material support, so supporting the ability for customers. This is all native configurator. It works with all the product data that comes out of Acumatica for weights and pricing and all that. And there's multiple options on how you configure and what's shown with that bill of materials that's built out within configurator. This is stock, lead time, warehouse selection on orders. So if you want to, you can get into specific warehouse selections. There's all kinds of rules on what you can display from the warehouses and inventories that sync from the ERP. We can also do multi-warehouse ordering with different shipment calculations and methods, getting into split ordering where the customer goes through one checkout, but it's placing orders from multiple warehouses, charging or having different shipping methods and rates coming from each destination. This is an example of quick bulk add to cart, quick order form. This is an example of worker overrides in carts. So we believe a cart, a quote, unfinished orders, all the same thing. Workers can interact with customers and they can collaborate on orders. Workers obviously have additional privileges like forcing min-max quantities, preventing deletes, setting prices, and then the customer can go see the cart and basically go place orders. This is an example of native a shipper account wallet where they can put their own shipper numbers in and bill it to their shipper accounts. Exploded view diagram ordering, all integrated with customer specific pricing, warehouse selection and inventory levels, all coming from the ERP. This is a more sophisticated view of lot level ordering where you go into a lot. In this case, they sell granite, so every lot has different coloring of the granite, and they wanted customers to be able to see the actual pictures on a lot level, not just a product level, and place orders. This is an example of product promotions, kind of the buy Y get X free, and this is customer specific aliases. So if customers have their own SKUs, product names, things like that, I know I'm rifling off a whole bunch of stuff. This is placing and tracking returns or RMAs that would integrate in, and there's some ruling, and it enforces that you have to have bought or invoiced the item. So rolling this up and giving myself a little time here for some Q&A. The first question to ask, do you have B2B first needs or your customers if you're a partner? Like I said, if you have one of these, then I think there's a good argument that a B2B first platform would be a good fit. If you have 2, 3, 4 of these, I believe it's a no-brainer. Again, I'm completely biased on this. So our ask is, go look at the other options. Drive the Camry, check it out, but give the bucket truck, the CIMcloud bucket truck, a test drive. So that would be our ask. If there's direct or B2B first needs, give the bucket truck a test drive. I like our odds if we get into that discussion with B2B first needs, and it's because we built the bucket truck to do this exact stuff. So we've been making bucket trucks for over 20 years. I won't go through all the stats and data here, but there's strong financials here. There's robust numbers and tons of experience with what we're doing and that whole 3PS framework to help with overall B2B e-commerce success. If you want to find out more, just go to CIMcloud.com/Acumatica. There's lots of ways to contact us on the website. You can also reach out to us through here. And with that, I will turn this over for a few minutes of Q&A if anyone has those questions that they want to address.
And what I will suggest, I know we've run a couple minutes over. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, Brian, for walking us through that. You guys can always reach us virtually here at acuCONNECT. Come to our booth at CIMcloud.com or listed at the top, or you can message me directly at Carrie Mead at any point today or tomorrow, or as Brian indicated, CIMcloud.com/Acumatica. Appreciate it, Brian, and we appreciate everybody's attendance here today. Hope you have a great acuCONNECT.